Hello and welcome back. I am Conan Librarian with Conan's EDC, Easy Dad Carry, and today I want to talk about budget knives. Let's take a look. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about when we talk about budget knives is what is a budget knife? And it's pretty self-explanatory, but the term is thrown around a lot, and for people maybe just getting into knife collecting or EDC or anyone just picking up a knife, it may not be as obvious, but essentially a budget knife is a cheap knife. Now, cheap does not have to mean bad quality, and cheap is a relative term. I don't like the gatekeeping on either end of the spectrum. Maybe a good budget for a cheap knife for you is 20 bucks, maybe it's 60 bucks, maybe it's a couple $100 when it comes to knives. Whatever that is, that's what a budget knife is. Now, for me, when it comes down to it, honestly, a real budget knife is between probably 20 to 35 bucks. Because anything more than that, well, there are other brands out there that I would probably spend the money on to get. Savivi, I love these knives. I own multiple. But if I'm looking at a new blade, I don't instantly go for something like this. I want to find something that has a neat form or has a neat function or has a neat factor to it that maybe isn't as prevalent on some of these other knives, or maybe I'm not too sure about the form of something and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money before really diving into a product. So what I have here are a few knives that I've picked up over the last few months that I have not featured on the channel yet. Now, I've had them, a couple of these have been in some shorts, but I haven't really gone over them. So none of these knives, when I purchased them, were over $30. Like I said, when I think budget, I like cheap because, well, I also want to beat it up and see if it actually feels good to use instead of possibly breaking or really scarring or damaging a more expensive blade, or just really not liking it. So we're going to start down here at the most obvious, and I think probably one of the most fun ones. So this is it came off Temu, actually, and this was $27. Now, you can search, you can find this on different places. I don't know that they sell it new anymore, but it is a Bear Grylls survival knife and kit. What this thing is a full Tang blade. I will look up the steel. Give me 1 second. Okay, so apparently this is 9CR19 MOV steel. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about steel. I wouldn't call myself a collector. I wouldn't call myself much of a, well, I would say enthusiast, but I'm a guy who likes knives. I know I like D2. I know stainless is good but dulls quickly. But from what I understand, that's a pretty decent steel. And the reason I picked this up is I am always intrigued by things that say survival. The form and the function on this was really interesting, and for 26 bucks, I figured why not? I like the grip on it. I like the cut on the blade. I like that it's got a full tang and a striker down here at the bottom. As a matter of fact, it claims it's full tang. We're going to take a look. All right, so just a tiny little magnet here, but I want to see if it actually sticks to it. And yeah, that's sticking right through the rubber here. You can see it jumping around. So it is actually grabbing the metal inside this tang. Oh, well, it was. Let me find a better magnet. Okay, so a little better magnet. We'll see what that does. And yeah, it is sticking to it. It seems like through the full tang. I don't know how... Maybe it is? Yeah. So I'm going to guess there is a tang. Maybe it's not the strongest magnet. You know what? This guy has magnet on it too. That's a really strong magnet on this. So it's there. I think it's probably just not a really thick one. And you know what? That's okay. Because the point of this is not because I don't plan on having to survive. but I really wanted to see for 26 bucks what this was going to be like. I will say, like I said, I like the form, I like the function. I like that it has a spot for a ferro rod here on the back. The sheath was fun. Has the compass, it has ferro rod built in, it has a flashlight here sunk into it. I like that those both point down because that way if it's raining, you're not getting water directly into your gear. It's got a little diamond grinder on here for sharpening. And you can even take this part off that goes through a belt, because if you wanted to, you could, I guess, hang this as a neck knife, but dude, that's super heavy. So I'm going to be taking this with me because I'm going camping here soon. And I'm just going to have some fun. See about, well, maybe I'll try to break it in half. The reason I was interested in this as a budget knife is, one, 26 bucks is pretty easy. And two, I like the idea of a hardcore, heavy-duty bushcraft knife. But, usually I just use my Mora companion. But, I've been looking at them more and more. I think it's really neat. But I wanted to see what is out there and what kind of, what kind of fun and what kind of function you get out of something like that. And honestly, if I really like this, if this performs well, then at 26 bucks, it's an awesome deal. If I like what it does, but this thing still snaps in half, well then it means I may very well invest in a much better knife and feel good about it because I've had experience with something at least similar. Okay. So the next one is this guy. It's the Evengrow EF973 or Evengrow. This is one of those Amazon budget brands, and I think that if you're familiar at all with EDC or knives, or if you ever search for or shop for knives on Amazon, you have seen this brand. This brand and Cedevin. There are a couple brands like this where they put out all of these different kinds of knives, and I've been really interested in them for a while just because a lot of times they're doing things that mimic other better, quality or brand names, or they just have interesting things that other brands aren't doing. So when I found this thing, when I picked it up, and actually looking on Amazon right now, I picked it up at like 25 and there was a 10% coupon. Right now, while I'm shooting this, it's 27 with a 5% coupon. This thing is huge, first of all. This is a 4-inch blade. I think it claims 4.1, but a 4-inch blade. It's also supposedly D2 steel. And at 26 bucks, I was really intrigued because honestly, I don't carry anything this giant usually. My preference on a blade is about 3-inch, and most of my stuff is even just kind of a 3-finger grip. This guy, I could get another finger up here on this thing if I wanted to. It's just absolutely huge. But I wanted something, again, because I'm going camping, carry around a folding beater around the campsite just to see how it does. And honestly, at 26 bucks, something that claims to be D2 steel, I want to see how it actually performs, how it holds up. I've carried this a few times for EDC. It's just too big for me. I don't like it, but I will say it's held an edge very well. The grip is really comfortable, this green micarta-ish material. It's army green. The reason I'm showing this knife is, one, it's a pretty good, honestly, deal for D2 steel. It also really made me think, as I was trying to figure out what I want to say about these knives, is that the reason I really have it here with these other knives is that I recommend trying one of these knives out. I mean, they're pretty easy to pick up in a lot of different, like I said, forms and functions and sizes and blade styles and even materials, handled materials. These cheap knives give you a way to test something in a form and function you're interested in that another brand might offer but cost a hell of a lot more. So something like this absolutely is worth picking up, even just to keep around the house to help break down boxes. So this guy, I'm pretty pleased to have at a campsite, and this will be making some appearances in the videos I'll be doing. All right, these are actually two of my favorite blades I own. These are the CRKT Minimalist, and these are both the Bowie style. or Bowie style rather. The reason I picked up two of them, I'll get into why these two specifically, but for a while I was looking at small knives, fixed blades, and these guys come up all the time. These minimalists are probably on almost every top 10 small blade or neck knife list that I have ever read. So I was really interested in finally picking up one of these. And when I actually did some looking, I was super excited to find something like this. If you are watching my channel, you know, or if you've watched most of my other stuff, you know that I like stuff that's a little bit different. And these two knives really appealed because, first off, this guy here, this minimalist is the gear design, and I just thought that was intricate. It was cool. It was a very different sort of thing that I haven't seen on a knife before. Now, the function on this and the form and the grip is great. I mean, they're small blades. And I get, though, immediately, the first time I opened this up, I understood why these knives are on so many top 10 lists, even top 5. Just the comfort on this is amazing. The sheath is really great. It's nice and light the way it sits, whether I'm wearing it on my neck. It comes with a belt buckle or belt attachment too, which is nice. But everything about these knives is appealing. So much so that I ended up getting a second one as well. And this is the Call of Cthulhu design. Cthulhu, it's old books and old stories, initially written by H.P. Lovecraft back in, I think, the early 20s. There's a whole Call of Cthulhu mythos about ancient gods and magic and madness, all sorts of things. And I just thought this was really cool. It's a design that, you know, if you like anything like that, the monsters, whether it's something like this Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft stuff, say it's Bigfoot, say it's extraterrestrials, whatever it is, a lot of that stuff is really cheesy and campy. This was one of the first and few designs I've seen that doesn't kind of make it cartoonish. It was just really neat. Now, I will say this one was a little bit of a cheat. When I got it, it was right at like 32, but with coupon, still put it under $30. Again, just a great sheath, a great carry, super easy. But the other thing I really like about these blades, this is something that uh, it's not something I've actually seen, I can say, I think, on really any knives that I've dealt with. And if you know of other knives like this out there, let me know, because I would be very interested. But what I really love about these knives is that they actually glow in the dark. These handles, these sheaths, absolutely soak up the light and become almost this radioactive blue and this radioactive green in the dark when you've shined light on them, which is just, to me, awesome, especially because if you're going to treat this, say, as a neck knife or something you're going to wear around, something you're using and trying to keep handy, I'm not going to say a fear, but I absolutely hate dropping things in the dark. And I've done it so many times, and especially when you're camping, the last thing you want to do is, say you walk away from the fire because you're going to get some wood or get something in the car, get something from your tent, and you drop your knife and suddenly it's just gone. Well, the fact that both the handle and the sheath glow so bright, and tell you what, I'll drop some pictures. These are just after spending a minute of really lighting them up, but just being in a dark place, you can see just how bright these things are. I just think that's super cool. And for knives under $30 to not only be so well loved that they make so many lists, but to have such cool, well, design factors and to have such cool function like glow in the dark, that's really great for under $30. To me, it's an example of not just going and finding a big brand out there, not just saying, well, the best neck knife is this because I can split a log with it, but it's the fact that there are companies and there are knives out there doing things that are different than just, you know, the big names. Honestly, I'll take a beater over Benchmade any day if it means that it's something I'm both comfortable and enjoying using. And speaking of that, last but not least is this guy. This is the Ganzo. Get that focused here. Almost. Boom. That's the Ganzo FH11S. Now, this is also in D2 steel. And the Ganzo's been around for a while. And again, this is another one of those brands, if you do any online shopping on Amazon especially, you have probably seen Ganzo blades. They've also done a lot of multi-tools. One of my favorite multi-tools, and I usually carry it as a beater or when I'm hiking or camping because it was cheap, but honestly, I've had it for years, my Ganzo multi-tool. Actually, hold on. Yeah, Ganzo multi-tool. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. This is actually the one I got for my wife. After I loved mine so much, I made sure that she had a good multi-tool as well. But Ganzo makes a lot of different knives, a lot of different multi-tools. And I've looked at their knives for a while, and actually Rich over at True Budget EDC recently did a video on a Ganzo that he got, and it was right around the same time that I had picked this up, and I could not be happier with this knife. This honestly is probably my favorite EDC knife right now. Honestly, possibly ever, to the point where I may consider buying this knife again in a different color in the handle just because I like it that much. The price tag on this guy, again, I know I keep taking my hands off to say I need to check, but let me check. The price tag on this guy at most is $24. It's G10 handle, D2 steel. Now, I said earlier, I'm not a big steel type guy. I know some things. I know that I like D2 steel. It keeps a good edge. It's easy to handle. It stays nice and sharp. Now, as far as the quality of D2, that obviously depends on the manufacturer. And it obviously depends if it's actually D2. But so far, I've been carrying this for a few weeks, and I absolutely love it. I will say the only thing I really don't like is it's got kind of a hot spot just on this edge. So when you're holding it, if you have it just palmed, no big deal. But if you're like most people using it kind of with the butt in the rest of your palm, there is kind of a sharper corner. There's definitely an angle on this. So honestly, I am going to sand this knife. That's the other thing about a cheap knife. I do not feel bad about modifying cheap knives or doing something to this or making it really form fitting. This is the Savivi Mini Praxis. Absolutely great blade. And actually, this was probably my favorite small carry up until I picked this guy up. And I just threw on a little $10 aftermarket thumb stud because, one, I don't feel bad about this. Now, it doesn't go all the way through the blade. It just has a little form screw in there that you screw and tighten. Since I put this on, and actually I did a short where I put this on, I've not had to adjust or tighten this at all. It has stayed on there. But this knife was only $30, and I absolutely do not feel bad about actually doing something to this. And if I say want to take this off and there's a little scuff on the metal, I won't feel bad about that. Whereas if I were to do something like that to Santa Baby here, my little Savivi baby banter, if this wasn't an original stud, I would feel bad about scratching it. I would feel bad about modifying it, and I would just be worried because I spent a lot of money on that knife. So something like this that was $23, I can just sand that down and love this knife even more. If I drop this, lose this, break this, I can have another one here at my doorstep by tomorrow. And that's another thing too. This is not a commercial for Amazon, and there are a lot of really fantastic knife sites out there that you should explore. But the reason I shop on Amazon, whether it's for pocket knife blades or wiper blades or whatever it is, household cleaners, whether it's shirts, whatever it is, the reason I shop on Amazon is because it's convenient, because I can save money, because it only takes a couple days to get here. And yes, I am spoiled like a lot of people at this point these days. When I order something, I like to have it pretty quick. But that's the other thing about a budget blade is I can have it, I can put hands on it, and if I damage it, if I need to replace it, boom, a couple bucks and I can. So yeah, I know this is kind of rambly. I don't know. As far as the merits, I love these blades in particular. That's not an endorsement to go out and buy these blades, although I will say give this guy a try. I absolutely love this HF or FH11. Fantastic blade. These are awesome. They look great. They feel great. They glow in the dark. This guy, I mean, he's just a big chonky knife, and I thought that was fun. And I wanted to try a larger flipper and see how that's going to feel. And then this thing, again, you're not even going to find this new, as far as I know, unless you find it on Timu. You probably have to eBay it, but I'm going to have fun using this just to baton wood and see kind of what I can do. See if I can, maybe I'll do one of those crazy tests those guys do where I like stick it in a tree stump and stand on it and see if it breaks or bends. So yeah, that's what budget knives are to me. Budget knives come in a lot of forms. They come in a lot of factors. They come in different, well, ceilings or levels as far as spend itself. And this is what I'm comfortable spending. This is what I'm comfortable beating up, breaking, losing, or replacing. And honestly, I think even if you have a budget where you can go out and spend bench made money on a beater knife, try something like this because it's fun. I guarantee you're going to find something different in the cheap beater market than you will in this more expensive market. And yeah, that way you're not always having to worry about taking something out of your display case. So thank you very much for spending your time with me. And as always, stay safe, be prepared, and have a great day.